Okay, so we entered this past week 4-0. Now we're 8-1. So let's go through the scores a little bit. Washington beat New York closer than I thought it would going to be, 30-29. Ravens beat the Chiefs, which I had the Chiefs going to win. The Ravens beat them 36-35. The Cowboys beat the Chargers, which I said the Cowboys were going to win 20-17 on a late game-winning field goal. Bucks beat the brakes off the Falcons 48-25. I had picked the Bucks. The New England Patriots beat the New York Jets 25-6, which I was shocked by. So I want to go through it first off. Before we go into next week's games, I want to talk about the Raiders first off. I'm shocked by how good the Raiders are doing. Because I entered this year, I'm like, the Raiders are going to be good. And then the Raiders went and just beat them. They did. In the second half, they came alive and they beat them. They beat them in overtime. And then they go against Pittsburgh and they beat Pittsburgh. And not to say Pittsburgh isn't good, but the fact they might not be what they used to be, but it's still a Mike Tomlin-led team, so you know they're going to be very good. And the Ravens, and like you see all these teams that the Raiders beat, they beat the Ravens, they beat the Steelers. But the Raiders are 2-0. The first time in John Gruden's second season, I think whole career as the Raiders coach, his team has been 2-0. That just doesn't happen. So I am very impressed with the Raiders. I'm impressed with what they're doing with Derek Carr, Henry Ruggs, Josh Jacobs, putting Kenyon Drake into the rotation in their defense. Now, I want to talk about the key guys I want to talk about for the Cowboys. First off, Zach Martin is back. Zach Martin, everyone's like, the Cowboys didn't run the ball enough. They're going to run the ball more. They got Zach Martin. They're going to run the ball. Trust me. Tony Pollard did amazing. Over 100 yards, 109 yards, and a touchdown. Everyone said, Tony Pollard's better than Zeke. Tony Pollard's a good switch of, we go from guy that can go in there and make some plays, who has a little speed himself, and Zeke Elliott, who had 71 yards, and Tony Pollard, who has 109 yards. Because we're always trying to say who's better, who's better, who's better. It's just, that's the human side of us. But I really believe the change of pace between Zeke and Pollard really confused the Chargers. And I think the Cowboys are going to find ways to more get them on the field together. Because it works so well. And no one's talking about this. The Cowboys had a total of 180 yards on the ground. The Chargers only allowed Washington, I believe, 100 yards on the ground in total. So the Cowboys blew that up. CeeDee Lamb showed that he could be a number 2 wide receiver, not a slot guy. He could show that he could move out. They showed that he can, if you want him to have some handoffs, he can do it too. Doesn't matter how it's done, he can do it. Dak Prescott looked great, 23 of 27. Didn't have to throw a ball a whole lot because the running game was working, but when it mattered, he was there. Terrence Steele did a great job on Joey Bosa. Did a great job. Joey Bosa had no pressures. He might have had one, but according to the NFL, he had 0, no sacks, and only 3 tackles. I think Terrence Steele did a good job. I think that's fair to assume. On defense, Micah Parsons, outstanding. To move him from linebacker, who only played one game at linebacker, move him to DN because of the loss of Randy Gregory on COVID and the loss of DeMarcus Lawrence for 6 to 8 weeks with a broken foot. Moving him to defensive end. Oh, also, you're going to have quite a task because we have no ability to get pressure, and yet the Cowboys find a way to get pressure. Michael Parsons had a sack that I didn't think would be a sack. I thought the officiating was terrible, but he made plays. So he got a boatload of pressures on the quarterback. Will the Cowboys give it at the end? At least for now, quite possibly. Even potentially when Randy Gregory comes back, he'll be still as a pressure guy. I will also say this: the other linebackers, Neal, Van Der Esch, and Smith, played very well. I don't really want to see Jalen Smith in coverage because he doesn't have the speed to keep up. But he's a tackling machine. So I could see the Cowboys using him in some other ways. Leighton Van Der Esch played very well. He had a sack when the Cowboys were able to force Herbert up in the pocket. He ended up making a good play. Demonte KZ had an interception, so did Trayvon Diggs, so both shoutouts to them. To special teams, we can't take those penalties again. We gave them an extra opportunity to make a field goal when they missed. But at the end of the day, Greg Zuerlein did his job. He did his job. He hit field goals when it mattered. He nailed all of his extra points. He had a game-winning field goal from 56 yards away, which is very difficult to do with the back surgery. He blocked at all Illinois, played very well. I do have a little concern over the time because there was 20-something seconds on the clock and the Cowboys were not taking a timeout, were not even trying to get to the huddle right away. So I was a little concerned by that front. But they did make it. They did have enough room so Greg could make that. For Greg Zuerlein to make that kick. But all in all, a great game. A lot of penalties. I didn't like the penalties. The officiating was horrible. You can't. I got so frustrated in the second quarter when they threw 12 flags. They made the game so much longer than it needed to be. It didn't need to be that long. And then they just wouldn't they wouldn't leave it alone. And I ended up shouting at my television saying, just allow them to play. Just allow them to play. That's all. That's all I want. Allow them to play. And hopefully they will. I mean, maybe we have to do what we did with Tom Brady last year, where Tom went and tweeted out, I'm shutting the game off because there's too many penalties, and then the next week there was no penalty flags thrown. That's what we might have to do, because it's getting ridiculous. Now, going into next week's games, we have the Chiefs at the Chargers. Chiefs are favored by 6.5. Chiefs are going to win that game. It's going to be close. I will say this. Because it's a rivalry game. It always are closer than it should be. Unless it's the Patriots against the Jets or the Bucs versus the Falcons. But I'm going to say this. The Chargers always play the Chiefs very well. Game's going to be close. I predict the game's going to be somewhat similar to what the Cowboys and Chargers was. 24-20. Saints at Pats. Pats are favored by 3. This is the best offensive coach in Sean Payton versus the best defensive coach in Bill Belichick. The question is, can the offense of the New England Patriots find a groove heading into another week? The Saints' defense is pretty good, but I'm taking the Patriots to win because I don't really trust Jameis Winston. Patriots are going to win. Close game, 23-20. Bucs at Rams. The Rams are favored by 1. This is going to be down to the wire, overtime potentially. Matt Stafford versus Tom Brady. I have the Bucs winning. Close game again. Very close game. Score is going to be 28-24. Packers at 49ers. 49ers are favored by 4. I don't trust this. Will you see the Packers tonight against Detroit? I want to see the Packers find a way to beat Detroit down, but I also want to see the Lions play fairly well. I'm taking the Packers. I'll take the 4 points, and I'll say, you know what? The Packers are going to win. The score is going to be fairly close if the 49ers can find the run game. Packers are going to win 27-24. Eagles at Dallas. Dallas is favored by 4. No Brandon Graham. The Cowboys might have Randy Gregory back at this point. Game is about 8 days away, 7 days away. Dallas is going to win. If the Cowboys find a way to stop Jalen Hurts, they'll win this game. And they'll pretty much win decisively, I think. Close game, though. Cowboys are going to win, though, 28-20.